Namaste and welcome. It is Rishi here from meditatewithrishi.com, and today we are going to be speaking about the 5 dimensions of existence. Okay, so according to yogic science, there are 5 dimensions of experience that a human being can experience essentially, and the aim of any spiritual practice is to penetrate through these 5 dimensions and essentially merge with our innermost self. Okay, so these 5 dimensions are also called the 5 sheaths. Sheaths being coverings that are covering our innermost self, and what we're doing through spiritual practice is essentially trying to go through them and reach the innermost self. Okay, so before you watch this video, it will really help you to understand what prana is. So I did a video on this a few days ago. Please go and check that out first before watching this video. It's called What is Prana? Okay, the universal life force. All right, so let us begin. What are these 5 dimensions of existence? Okay, so the first one is the Annamaya Kosha. Okay, so before I start that, they're all called koshas. So kosha means a sheath. Sheath is a covering essentially. Okay, so it will be something maya kosha, something maya kosha. Okay, so kosha means a sheath, and maya in this context means comprised of. Okay, so the first one is the Annamaya Kosha. So Annamaya means, Anna is food, comprised of food. So the food body. Okay, so the first one is the food body, which is essentially referring to our physical body. Okay, this is our physical body that depends on food, water, air, and prana. Okay, so even though we need food, water, and air, we can still live without these for a certain amount of time, but we cannot live without prana, right? As we discussed in the previous video. So ultimately, when prana leaves the body, this food body dies. So when we die, ultimately, it is prana that leaves the body. Okay, and prana actually is existent in all these sheaths. Okay, it permeates all these sheaths. All right, so this first layer, the Annamaya Kosha, here our consciousness is on the physical body level. Okay, this is where majority of the world's population is. Okay, so because our consciousness is on the physical body, material body, right? Physical material. Our thoughts are also very material, right? So everybody's trying to please this body in some way, earn more money, get a better house, a better car, go on holidays, eat good food, sex, alcohol. All these things are there to please the, the physical body, essentially, right? So that's okay, right? We all have to start from this level of consciousness, this level of awareness, this level of experience, essentially. Okay, but ultimately the first layer is the Annamaya Kosha, or the food body. Okay, this is where most of us are. Now the next one is the Pranamaya Kosha. Okay, so this is what is known as our pranic body or energy body. Okay, you may also heard it being called in the West as the astral body or the etheric body, essentially. Okay, so this body is our energy body, and modern science has actually now been able to actually see this through something called Kirlian photography. It's very high voltage photography, where you can the energy body can be seen as a kind of an aura, this luminous, colorful aura around a person. Okay, and the color actually is a sign of their state of evolution, essentially, right? So this has been shown by science. Now within this, our consciousness, right, is in the Annamaya Kosha, in the food body. It is at the physical level. Here our consciousness is a bit more subtle. Maybe we are able to experience, really understand, have an awareness of the inner world, right? If you practice pranayama, if you practice meditation, you may be able to feel the pranas, right, within your body. Or maybe in meditation you're seeing some colors, things like this, right? That awareness has expanded, essentially. Okay, so these two bodies, the pranamaya kosha, energy body, and the physical body, they essentially create the vessel. The vessel is called Atmapuri, the city of the soul. And this vessel, the food and the energy body, is what creates the platform for us as human beings to awaken the higher dimensions, to begin to explore the higher dimensions, right? So these two are needed. They're kind of a base through which we can now explore the higher dimensions. Got it? Okay. So the third one, so we've gone from the food body, physical body, to energy body, pranic body. Now the third one is manomaya kosha. Mano means mind. This is the mental dimension, essentially. So the level of experience here is the conscious mind. Okay, the conscious mind is what we use to essentially do our day-to-day activities. And this is the bridge between the outer and the inner worlds. So in essence, it is through this sheath that, everything that's happening outside sends signals to our internal intuitive body. And what we are feeling, within is actually felt within our physical body. So it is kind of a middle point between the outer world and the inner world, essentially. Okay. Now, the fourth one is called Vijnanmaya Kosha. Okay. So we started with food, physical body, then energy body, then the mental body, mental dimension. Now this Vijnanmaya Kosha is the psychic dimension. Okay. So the level of experience here is the subconscious and the unconscious mind. Okay, level experience, subconscious and the unconscious mind. And this is the link between the individual mind and the universal mind, essentially. Okay, so what does this mean? So this is where in meditation, if you do yoga nidra, the whole point of yoga nidra is to access this state, essentially, to open up the subconscious, right? But even in traditional meditation, that is ultimately what is going to happen, right? So when you enter the state of meditation where you're, complete total relaxation of the physical, mental, emotional system, and your subconscious mind opens, you can essentially, download ideas from the universal mind, right? So in essence, over here, you start operating from a place of a lot of clarity, a lot of, creativity comes forth, a lot of intuition, right? So this is, when it comes to finding your purpose, so many people are like, I just don't know what my purpose is. I don't know what to do. And of course we have the methods like Ikigai, for example, of sitting down and figuring out what could your purpose be. But ultimately, your real purpose is going to become very clear to you when you have accessed this, essentially. So essentially your intuition, right? Your individual mind is then connected to the universal mind. And whatever you are here to do, you are not this body and mind, right? You are the self within. And it has taken birth in this human body because of something, right? You do have a purpose here, no matter how big or small. So this essentially, through meditation, when the mind becomes very quiet and you can access this, it will become clearer. It will become clearer. You will get messages in some way or another, and your intuition will draw you to pursue a particular path, essentially. Okay, so this is the Vijnanmaya Kosha, the psychic dimension. All right. Now the last one, the Anandamaya Kosha, is essentially when you've penetrated to this level. I'm not, right? So I can't speak about it, but this is a bliss body. This is the abode of the most subtle prana, okay? So here, life, your life, the way that you are living and experiencing it becomes very similar to that of an enlightened being, okay? What you're seeing essentially, you're seeing the world as full of beauty, full of joy. You feel contentment all the time. There is this beatitude, essentially, right? This is something that we are aspiring to, always aspiring to get to this and to even penetrate this ultimately. So this is just an introductory, very brief understanding of these 5 dimensions, the 5 sheaths, essentially. So why are we speaking about this? What is the purpose? What is the importance of this? Okay, so yogic practice, right, or spiritual practice, the aim essentially is to penetrate these dimensions, penetrate these sheaths, and essentially merge with what is within your innermost self, okay, which is the Atman. And that, by the way, is covered by all of these. So to reach that, to touch that, to essentially, live in that experience, all these need to be penetrated, okay? So if you look at now the yogic system, right? If you look at the 8-limbed system of Patanjali, this is why it is designed in such a way. So first you have, so let's look at this, right? So first you have the yamas and the niyams, which are essentially how to conduct yourself, behavior, right? Because if you can't control your behavior, then you can't control your body, right? Behavior is something that happens externally. So first the behavior needs to be controlled. Then after yam niyam comes the asana, right? This is where you control the physical body now. So this is what most of the world is doing, knowingly or unknowingly as yoga right now, the physical practice, controlling the physical body, right? So first you control the behavior, then you control the physical body. Only when you've controlled the physical body can you control the prana. So after asana comes pranayama, right? Once you've controlled the prana, essentially, that is when you can go really deep and control the mind, right? After pranayama kosha is manomaya kosha. Control the prana, then you can control the mind. And this is where the practices of meditation actually come in, real meditation, not something that you're sitting and just trying, right? Where the concentration has become so refined that you can essentially, keep your mind on one thing seamlessly and use that power that's generated, like the sun coming into a magnifying glass and burning what is beneath. The mind becomes so refined that you can essentially converge your thoughts on one single thought, the object of meditation, and penetrate this mind, right? And essentially penetrate the koshas. So the entire system is designed in that way, and you will get signs along the way because, initially you sit down and meditate, you can't meditate. Then you can meditate and you start getting a lot more comfortable. You start entering states where you feel really relaxed. Then you start entering states where you can see, maybe you can see a light, right? Or you can see something, but you are not in the outside world. You're totally engrossed in this inner world, okay? Then when you come to this Vijnanamaya Kosha, here the experience, wow, is something else completely. So instead of just seeing light, this is a very high level experience of meditation where smells come, sounds come, right? Like the Om sound. The Om sound is actually meant to be heard in meditation, right? The sound of a flute, the sound of the ocean. These sounds come, essentially. Sights, you can see sights. In fact, it is such a vast realm that it is said that the yogi must not get lost in that because it can become very fascinating just sitting within and observing all these phenomena. So this is where the practice, right, needs to become very, very refined. You should know, why am I sitting down? Why am I doing these practices ultimately? Because what is said is that from here, from the Annamaya Kosha, right, the physical body, to the Vijnanamaya Kosha, the psychic dimension, through systematic yogic practice, you can come till here. But how to go from the psychic dimension to the bliss body, from Vijnanamaya to Anandamaya, this is a mystery. It is said that this is a mystery, essentially. So I imagine that here, there is there is grace involved, right? This is when you have to really, I imagine, I'm not close to this, right? But I imagine you have to bring some real humility in the practice and, ensure that every area of your life, there is no ego. Because this is when, the siddhis or the psychic powers start to manifest essentially. And a lot of people, it's a trick, right? It's a trick to see that are you there to really experience, the soul, or are you doing this to attain some powers essentially? So at this stage, the practice needs to become really, really refined and with full dedication, like complete faith, humility, surrender, that I do not want anything. I have no desires. I have, no ego, essentially. And then I think grace will be bestowed upon you. And this is when you reach here. And after this, there is a final sheath. Because remember, these are the coverings, right? They are covering the self. They're covering the Atma. And there is a sixth sheath called the Atma Kosha. And when the yogi resides in this Atma Kosha, it is said that is when you have merged with the universal self. This is the ultimate state, essentially. So this is the aim for practices. But in order to progress, I thought that, it is going to be very useful for you to understand this, okay? So when you're practicing, you have an idea, I'm not just sitting down for 20 minutes and trying to recite something which I don't know why I'm doing, okay? So I'm doing these videos so you have a clearer understanding of why we're doing these practices, what is the systematic kind of, progression that we are going for, and what is the attitude with which to do these practices, which is humility, complete surrender, complete dedication. This is why this science was expounded by the ancient yogis. So I hope that helps. That is all for today. Thank you very much for listening. Namaste.